Hi, this is Hutch with bankingtruths.com, and today we're going to discuss how IUL grows your cash inside an index universal life policy. And with that, you can see there's a number of subtopics with a little timestamp I added there. So if you already know how some of this works, you can just skip ahead. But we're going to discuss in this video how caps and floors work, how do participation rates work, how international strategies work. Not all policies have them, but several do, and how multi-year strategies work to help you grow your cash. And I just want to remind you with the link below that we've written the most comprehensive and objective piece on how index universal life works and the pros and cons. So you can copy that URL, or as long as YouTube lets us, we'll have that little link up there at the top where you can get right to it. So in order to illustrate how these index crediting strategies work, we're going to illustrate using this period between 1999 and 2010 in the S&P 500. And this side of the fence will show the actual movement of the S&P 500. And over here in this column will actually be the IUL equivalent using a cap of 12.5 and a floor of 0. And what you can clearly see is the first year, assuming this is a $100,000 account, either a fully funded IUL policy or a well-seasoned investment account, that first year, if you were to earn 19.5% in the S&P, your account would grow from 100,000 to 119,000. With the IUL, since you have a cap of 12.5, even though the S&P experienced gains in the 19% range, you're only going to get 12.5% growth on your $100,000 account. And a lot of people stop right here and say, aha, I knew it. The insurance company's keeping all my profits. It has nothing to do with them keeping the profits over and above the cap. It has to do with them using options to hedge and create this strategy for you, because obviously 12.5% without taking any risk is a pretty favorable return. And in order to keep the cost of the options manageable, they have to cap them at some point. Now, the advantage to you for giving up this extra 7%, if you will, in a good year is in the bad year, whereas your investment account might lose 10% or 13% the following year or 23% the following year, and your $100,000 account that grew to 119 then shrinks to 71. On the IUL side of the fence, you simply experience no losses from the market. And they are able to do that again because of this options hedging strategy. And some people again say, that just sounds too good to be true. I don't trust it. But it's because the max loss when you're buying options is the cost of the option. That's why you experience no losses. And it's probably worth taking a step back to say, if you didn't do any of this fancy index stuff, most insurance policies these days are paying fixed crediting rates somewhere in the 3 to 4% range. So all that's happening is you're saying, when you choose an IUL policy, is you're saying, you know what? I don't want the paltry 3 to 4%. Go ahead and take that and deploy them in the options market, and let's see if we can earn 12.5. So that's why you have a cap of 12.5, because that's the highest cap that they can buy with a 3 or 4% options budget. And that's why you have a 0% floor, because when the market loses, all you lose is what you were going to get anyway from a fixed crediting rate. Now let's use the same sequence of returns but talk about participation rates. So participation rates usually have a lower cap. In this case, I use 10, which is fairly standard right now. But because you're willing to accept a lower cap, what they'll do is they'll give you 150%, or 1.5 times what the S&P does, up to a lower cap. So you can see very clearly here in year 7 where the S&P earned 3%. If you earn 150% of that, or 1.5 times, you're going to earn 4.5%. Or here, when it earns a little over 3.5%, you're going to earn 5.3%. So you're going to get a little extra leverage, but between the constraints of 0 to 10. It's often referred to, ironically, in the media when you search IUL as a negative thing. Like IUL has participation rates, like they can bring it down below 100. But I haven't found any carriers that do that for life insurance. You do see that in index annuities at times, but I found that most of the time when IULs offer participation rates, it's usually greater than 100. So I'm not sure why they're touting that as a bad thing. I think it is worth noticing that you will cap out at a lower cap rate, whereas before these used to be 12 and a halves, they're now 10s. And I found going back in time, and I may do a separate video about the history of the S&P, that it's pretty binary. It's rip roaring or it's falling off of a cliff or doing very little. So I've found that the participation strategies may be valid in years where you feel like things are topping out, but otherwise I might try and go for the extra 2.5 points rather than take a little extra leverage on my index earnings. So to explain international index crediting strategies, I overlap the dark blue line above, which is the S&P 500, and the light blue line below is the emerging markets index. Some of the carriers will offer that as an alternative to tracking the S&P index. Some of them will use the Euro Stoxx. Some of them will use a blend of, say, the emerging markets, the Euro Stoxx, the Hang Seng index. But long story short is you would use an international index when you feel like perhaps the S&P 500 has really run its course and benefited from all the fiscal stimulus that as a nation we've offered, and maybe because of things they're doing overseas, the international markets are soon to catch up. The nice thing is you don't need to pick it for the life of the policy. You can choose year by year, and you can see very clearly here that the emerging markets lagging the S&P. So oftentimes in history, I find that domestic and international is almost like a double helix. They kind of snap back and overpass each other. So if you felt like that were to happen, you may want to allocate some of your cash value to an international growth strategy like tracking the emerging markets. And the good news is you don't need to choose it for the entire life of the policy. You can flip-flop every year or so, and you can actually choose how much you allocate, almost just like you would do a 401k. You could say, you know what, I'm going to do 70% in the S&P 500, and I'm going to do 30% this year in the emerging markets. So that's how international indices work. As far as multi-year strategies, some carriers offer you the ability to participate in an index for more than 1 year. So it means you need to leave it in there, but if you started it, say, in 2013 and brought it all the way to 2015, if we just see what it's done here, well, we'll get pretty close. You can see over here that it's done 44% over that time. And usually it's going to be a slightly higher cap. So we've seen a 30% cap if you hold it for 2 years. So you wouldn't experience the full 44%, but you might get higher than you would if you just did the annual point-to-point strategy with that 12.5% cap. There's also 5-year strategies. So some carriers will let you participate in the market for a full 5 years, and you can get all the potential gains that the S&P got, only without the risk. One of the downsides to using a 5-year strategy would be if you did it during this time period. I'm showing you starting it in 2003, taking it to December 7th of 2008. It looks like you're going to experience massive gains, and then all of a sudden at the 11th hour or the 4th year, your gains just fall off a cliff. So in this case, you'd earn 0% for all the money you put in that strategy. The nice thing is it's not an all or nothing conversation. And again, you can choose which year you want to do this. So you could wait for a market correction or wait for a dip or just simply allocate a smaller percentage. If you want ongoing updates about the state of the IUL marketplace, you can join us at bankingtruths.com/newsletter-IUL to learn more about how IUL works, as well as to get these ongoing updates as far as the state of the marketplace.